Named after the ancient kingdom of Israel, according to biblical tradition, the Jewish patriarch Jacob received the name Israel, he who struggles with God, after he wrestled an entire night with an angel of the Lord. Jacob's 12 sons became the ancestors of the Israelites, also known as the 12 tribes of Israel, who formed the kingdom of Israel. Located in the Middle East, Israel borders the Mediterranean Sea and is in between Egypt and Lebanon. With Jerusalem being the capital, Israel has a population of over 8 million people. The official language is Hebrew, but because of its diversity, Arabic and English are also recognized languages. This is also represented in religion, as about 75% of the population is Jewish, 17% is Muslim, and 2% is Christian. The State of Israel was declared on May 14, 1948, after Britain withdrew from its mandate of Palestine. The UN proposed dividing the land into Arab and Jewish states. However, the Arab armies that rejected the UN's plans were eventually defeated. Israel was then admitted as a member of the United Nations in 1949 and saw swift growth in population, primarily due to migration from Europe and the Middle East over the following years. Israel fought wars against its Arab neighbors in 1967 and 1973, followed by peace treaties with Egypt in 1979 and Jordan in 1994. Israel and Palestinian officials signed a number of interim agreements in the 1990s that created an interim period of Palestinian self-rule in the West Bank and Gaza Strip, which Israel occupied in 1967. According to the World Factbook, the most recent efforts to negotiate final status issues took place in 2013 and 2014. Immigration to Israel continues with over 28,000 new immigrants, mostly Jews, in 2016. As we look at the political climate in Israel, we must once again recognize how diverse the state is. There are 18 political parties in Israel. Given that Israel was designated as a Jewish state, citizenship is somewhat unique. Israeli law returned July 5, 1950, provides for the granting of citizenship to any Jew defined as a person being born to a Jewish mother or having converted to Judaism while renouncing any other religion, who immigrates to and express a desire to settle in Israel on the basis of the right of Aliyah. In 1970, the amendment of this act extended to the right of family members, including the spouse of a Jew, any child or grandchild, and the spouses of children and grandchildren. During the British mandates, Jews who were trying to flee Europe looked at Israel as a state for Jews, not so much a Jewish state. Because of this, there is constant conflict between Israeli nations and the Palestinian nations. Oftentimes, the narrative that is given to the West is that Israel is in need of the West's assistance because there is a continuous religious conflict, when in actuality, the conflict has nothing to do with religion, but more so territory. This false narrative has to do more with the way that media is produced and distributed. Similar to Western media, Israel has a very diverse source of outlets to represent their many ethnic and religious groups. According to BBC, TV is the leading medium. Originally, the Israel Broadcasting Authority, IBA, was the organization responsible for broadcast media, but was replaced by Israeli Public Broadcasting Corporation in 2017. The IPBC was intended to be more efficient by employing fewer staff than the IBA and outsourcing production. The most popular commercial TV is Channel 2, but most households subscribe to cable and satellite. The radio sector is made up of public stations ran by the IPBC, which includes 2 networks ran by the Israel Defense Forces, IDF, and more than a dozen commercial outlets. Although a natural decline due to internet media, the press is still fairly competitive as well. Media watchdog Reporters Without Borders says that the media is free to be outspoken, which is rare in the Middle East. It says this is tempered by military censorship, however, and that the army often violates the rights of Palestinian and foreign journalists, especially when they cover demonstrations. Freedom House says the local media is vibrant and free to criticize government policy, but it says diversity and editorial independence have been threatened by financial difficulties in the industry. Israel has a large IT industry and one of the world's most technological literate populations. Around 6.6 million people had internet access by mid-2017, comprising 80% of the population. A 2016 survey found that YouTube is the most popular social media platform, followed by a messaging service, WhatsApp, and Facebook. Ynet is also the leading Hebrew language news site. As I did my research, I did come across a thing called pink washing. In 2010, the Israeli news site Ynet reported that the Tel Aviv Tourism Board, had begun a campaign of around $90 million to brand the city as an international gay vacation destination. The promotion, which received support from the tourism ministry and Israel's overseas consultants, include depictions of young same-sex couples and financing pro-Israeli movie screenings at lesbian and gay film festivals in the United States. The government isn't alone by having Israeli pornography producer even shoot a film, Men of Israel, on the site of a former Palestinian village. This is known as pinkwashing, a deliberate strategy to conceal the continuing violations of Palestinians' human rights behind an image of monetary signified by Israeli gay life. Homosexuality has been discriminated in the West Bank since 1950, when anti-Semitic sodomy laws imposed under British colony influenced were removed by Jordanian penal code, which Palestinians follow. More important is the emergent Palestinian gay movement with three major organizations: Azawad, Al-Quds, and Palestinian Queers for Boycott, Divestment, and Sanctions. As I close, I challenge you all to question the way that we as Americans view the Israeli and Palestinian conflict. Although there are some local media outlets for Palestinians, most of the outlets in the region are controlled by Israel, since they are the ones that are actually recognized as a state. It is great that there is a place Jews can go and feel at home. However, similar to American history, it shouldn't be at the expense of the natives that occupied the land before their arrival. With that being said, I want to leave you with a short comical film on the migration to Israel. Please enjoy.